All right. Hello, everyone. This is actually the last session of this batch. And today we will try to summarize everything, try to look at a couple of demos that the learners have created. So we'll go through that process. Anything which is not specific to the project that we can take up in the last. We will try to summarize what additional things you can do on top of this. We had certain limitation in terms of finishing up something in 5-6 weeks. That was the target, and within that time we wanted to give you some idea how things work in the industry, some best practices followed. So we have tried doing that sort of activity. You can always build on top of this project. The August batch that we are running is actually an extension of this project. So we deliberately left some minor issues in this. We'll discuss that, what those issues or what those villains in this entire movie is, some drawbacks, and then we will look at how you can address that in the subsequent projects that you are building. So that was the idea here. We wanted to introduce you to DevSecOps related tools. We wanted to ensure that the infrastructure that you are setting up is secure. We wanted to ensure that the application you are building is self-healing in nature, that it can withstand any outage and it can restart itself. So that was the objective. And let's take a look to what level some of the learners are able to achieve this. So Dinesh, over to you. How you want to present? It's all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjeev. Hello, everyone. I would like to Sanjeev first for giving this opportunity to learn and explore and experiment on the real-time scenario project. I hope I could pull it up, as best as possible, but forgive me if there are any blunder mistakes or, yeah. So I will,
let's proceed.
I'll share the screen now. So
yes, please.
Sanjeev, host disabled participant screen share. And we lost your audio as well.
Oh,
yeah, now I can share.
Yeah.
Yes. So first I'll introduce the project. The project brief, what we got is basically divided into 3 parts. So it is a Java-based Spring Boot application. The first part was to build the AMI. So first we are creating the golden image where we have a couple of packages and softwares installed. This golden AMI will be used in the next part 2 and part 3 as well. So I'll explain you the architecture, what's happening here. So the developer pushes the code. What code he is pushing the Packer code. And here we are using the shell module. So the Packer will pick the shell module and it will build the AMI, but we are building it through the Jenkins pipeline. So we push the code to the GitLab. From the GitLab, Jenkins is pushing it. Jenkins is pulling the code and it is building the AMI. So this is the first part of the project, to just build the AMI. So this is the architecture. If you go to the demo, so for this process, I chose Amazon Linux 2 as my base AMI. So for this project, initially I started with the GitLab repository. So as I said, there are 3 parts in this project. I have part 1, part 2, and part 3. All these are subgroups of one main group project. Okay. So in the first sub project, I have 3 branches. I have dev, feature or build AMI, or main branch. So whatever we do initially, we do it in the feature branch. That's the reason I've protected this. So the dev and the main branch is protected. Only the feature branch will develop, and we will push it only to the remote feature branch itself, not to any other branch. So once everything is done and the unit test, the smoke test is done, we will merge the code to the next repository, that is dev repository, dev branch. So here, whoever is the maintainer will see the code, and if he accepts it, if it is good, then he will merge the code. So that's how the branching strategy here I followed. So for this, I've taken an EC2. We can do it with the Terraform, or we can do it with the normal AWS. So I chose Terraform, and I've installed Jenkins, Packer, Git, and AWS CLI. Why I have installed Jenkins? Because that's where we are doing the pipeline, and the Packer we need because we are using Packer code. So whatever we want Jenkins to do it, we need to install all those wherever the Jenkins is installed. It's the whole idea. And we are installing AWS CLI also because we wanted to authenticate with the AWS cloud. So if you see the Packer configuration, this is a region I'm using. This is a AMI name, and this is all the configuration. And if you see the provisioner research script file, these are what we are installing as of now. We are installing Docker, SSM agent, and the CloudWatch agent. So if you see, I have the code in the master at the moment. So this is the Jenkins file, Packer init, format, validate, and build AMI. And this is what we did in the first part. And we got the AMI. So the first part was pretty simple, just building the AMI. So I'll jump back to the part 2 of the project. So this is a part 2. In this part 2, we are using the same AMI which we built in the part 1, and we are building the artifact of a Java application, and we are Dockerizing that into an image, and we are pushing it to the registry. So let's see the architecture first. So if you see in the first part, we build the AMI, and here we are taking the same AMI for the Jenkins machine, and here the developer is pushing the Java Spring Boot code, and the code is pushed to GitLab. Jenkins is picking the code as usual. But what is Jenkins doing here? Jenkins is, in the first stage, it is scanning the code. Since I'm using GitLab, I have chose Sonar Cloud for that. And the next, it will build the jar artifact, the software build. Then, based on the jar artifact, with the Docker image instructions, I build the Docker image. And after the image is built, we are pushing it to the JFrog. We can push it to Docker also. So as usual, I've followed the same method in the part 2. This is a project. I've protected the branches. And building the pipeline, this is a scan code with Sonar Cloud. So for the scanning of the code, we need to take the group ID, and we need to pass. We have already seen this, but I'm quickly running through. So we need to configure the form.xml, and we need the credentials in Jenkins, so that the Jenkins pipeline can pick the Sonar Cloud credentials. So this is what it is. The Sonar Cloud scan is done, and we can see the code coverage. And the next stage is building the jar. And for building the jar, we need necessary tools, and we need to add path and all that. So the build stage is this. Since we are building the Maven build, we need to have the Maven plugin as well. And this is a build jar stage, and we have built the jar. And here we are doing the Docker build. For that, this is a Docker file, OpenJDK as a base AMI, and we are copying the Spring Pet Clinic Java artifact to a location. From there, this is compulsory. This is how the project is designed by the developers. We need this environment variable if you want it to connect to the database. So that's to be noted. And this is a build stage. I've executed the pipeline, and this is a build image. And the stage 4 is pushing to the Docker registry. So I did with the Docker Hub. Here, the credentials are stored in the Jenkins. All these necessary stages are there, but I'm not going in detail. Whoever wants to see, they can just go with check all steps. So we pushed it to Docker Hub, and I have also pushed it to the Docker Hub JFrog. This is the stage for pushing it to JFrog. So we have used the same EMI, and we built the artifact, we built the image, and we pushed it to the registry. This is a part 2. So let's go to the part 3. So in the part 3, this is a somewhat critical than the part 1 and part 2. Yeah, the whole thing is to build the infrastructure with Terraform, and it has got high availability, secure. So let's see the architecture, what we are doing. So we build the AMI in the first part. The same AMI, we took it in the part 2, and we'll build the image. We build the Docker image, and the same Docker image is taken and used in the Terraform code for the build servers. Here again, for the Jenkins machine, we are using the same AMI. And what it is doing here, in this particular part 3 of the project, if the code is in dev branch, it does Terraform init, Terraform plan, and the checkout scan is optional, but in the last moment, I could not do this. So for that, currently in the dev branch, the Terraform init and plan will happen. And when the code is pushed to main branch, Terraform init, Terraform plan, and it will wait for the manual approval. Then it goes to the Terraform apply. So this manual approval is important because, as soon as the code is pushed, they cannot risk the production branch. That's how I've learned. So I have added this particular stage. And what we are building, what is the infrastructure we are building with the Terraform code? So we have a VPC, it's a custom VPC. In that we have public subnet, private subnet, and secure subnet. In the public subnet, we have the application load balancer. In the private subnets, we have the web server. And this web server is using the Docker image. So in the secure subnet, we are having the relational database, RDS we are using. Okay, so these web servers are in availability zone 1, and they are in 2 availability zones. So whatever the traffic is coming through the internet, it is first coming to application load balancer. From the application load balancer, it is going to the auto scaling, and the auto scaling is using the RDS. So as usual, I created the project in the 3rd part of the project, and I protected the branches. And this is the code. I have all the child modules separately, and I also have the root module separately. Whoever wants to just see the code, free to check. We have all the modules, and this is the root module. We have called all the child modules into the main root module. And these are the variables. Terraform TFR, sorry, it's a sensitive information, I cannot reveal it. And this is a Jenkins pipeline. So what is happening in the Jenkins pipeline? So if you see here, Terraform init will happen, plan will be done, and the approval stage will happen only in the main. So if this particular code is in the dev branch, only this and this will happen. Or in the feature branch, any other branch, init and plan will happen. But only when it is in the main branch, this particular stage will happen, and the following apply stage. So this is a demo for the overall pipeline. I'll try to play it. So I'll play it in.
I think we can share this link, Dinesh. People can
Okay.
Later on. This is commendable effort. All this documentation, everything, finishing this. So this was actually achievable in this duration of time, right? And you have actually exceeded some of the things like creating Terraform modules and then using them. I could see all the secret management was absolutely perfectly done. So this is a lot of effort, I know, but yeah, it's worth the clap and appreciation.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you so much. So the code is still on.
So
If we go
this
to,
Notion link, is it public and can be shared with others?
yeah, it can be shared. At the moment, it is not public. I will make it public.
All right, that will be helpful. And is it like a lot of things, were they source code or that can be copied, or is it pictures?
Those are pictures. I mean, in the last moment, I could not put all the code for the presentation,
Mhm.
but anyway, the code will be in the GitLab.
Repository, right.
Yeah, Git repository. But
Awesome.
for the reference, they can check what is happening here.
Right. That would be
So if
great.
you
A
go
lot of
to
people
H,
have joined through recordings and other process, not following from week one. So they can follow the recordings in the sequence and then look at the repositories if they stuck anywhere.
they're free to do that. I don't have any problem.
Perfect.
So the HTTPS is also working. I've routed it to my domain.
Yep.
So it's all good.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Really, great effort, and it makes me feel very happy that we are able to achieve the all the items that we wanted to. And trust me, this is all production grade. It is all used in the industry. That's how a reasonably complex project with input of one pipeline becomes the output of pipeline one becomes input for the next one, and then the third project takes input from both these projects, and that's how something complex gets built.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sanjay. Thanks. I must really appreciate you for giving this and also supporting every week what needs to be done, how it should be done. And the WhatsApp group was also very helpful, people helping each other, for the issues. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, Sanjay. I'll stop the
Yeah.
here.
I will like when I open the group for messages, you can circulate what public information you can send, and then
Yeah.
people can and
All
the
right, Sanjay.
YouTube link as well.
Yeah. Thank you,
Dinesh,
Sanjay.
I have
Well,
one
well done,
question
Dinesh.
here.
So this,
Mhm.
I think the way you presented was also very nice, and all the information that you have put together, even in terms of pictures and all the code snippets, that's very crisp. Because you've seen a lot of in the enterprises, it's not just the code that matters. The way that you present it and the soft skills that you come along with, they form a very integral part of the job. So I think the way you presented it is very commendable, and yeah, good work. I see that you have also integrated SonarQube with it. I think that was an extension of what was asked. So yeah, well done.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for that.
Dinesh, I have one question here. First of all,
Yeah.
congratulations on completing the project, and you did a good job. I want to know is I have my code running here with me also, but I have stuck in the last how did you give the Terraform output RDS endpoint
Mhm.
into the code where we can be
Yeah.
it can be done as a user data, I know that, but
Mhm.
somehow the Docker command which I'm running,
Mhm.
it's getting failed. Apart from that,
Okay.
I have everything working here, but
Mhm.
that is the only part which I'm stuck at. Even the Terraform apply works well. With the I will show you my code here. I just want to know, please let me know if after showing my demo, please if
Yeah.
you can help me on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Even I've
Dinesh.
struggled a lot with passing the endpoint to the script, because the script is in the user data. How to pass a endpoint of a child module to another module was
Yes.
the first time even I was doing. But I could able to pull it up. But I'll explain you that. Uh, no
Yeah.
problem.
And also I want to know is, which command did you run in the last to get that? if I run that direct command, it's working. The pet clinic using the RDS, the database, it's completely working. That command, when I consider as an environment variable, it's taking that command, but it's not running. I think there's some issue with that back. I'm Sanjeev. First of all, good morning and good afternoon wherever you are, and thank you for the opportunity to for the project. And I'm very thankful to you. Wherein I've got before that I've just know the names of it and how it works. Just I know that one only, but not I have any hands-on experience before that. Until this project comes in, wherein I've gave my maximum time for this, and I've got knowledge on many things like Terraform and Jenkins pipelines and the GitOps approach, which you have mentioned. Even I struggled for that, and I think I'm good with that too at this moment of time, which needs much more polishness. But yeah, I'm thankful for everything for the project and for the helping out in the group also.
Yeah. No
So
worries.
what I will do is I just want to show I didn't have any presentation sort of thing like Dinesh has presented for you,
Yep.
wherein I can show you my code here, wherein I've got not much time to prepare that PPT
No
like
worries.
Dinesh.
Let's quickly go through that and just
Yeah,
highlight any
and I have
major difference you have or any additional integration that you experimented with. Anything that you
yes,
think is relevant.
yeah, but I do not have a complete working at the end. Actually, I do not have complete. If I run at that command, it will run. But since that environment variable is still in pending
Okay.
state for me, apart from that, everything is done from my side.
Yes. But you get
I'll
the
just
idea, right? It is the output of one Terraform module which will be provided to the user data script, and that
yes,
RDS endpoint is going to be dynamic in nature.
yes. I have done that too, but somehow it is not reflecting over
That's
there.
fine.
That's it.
That's fine. That we can figure out. We can do debugging in WhatsApp group
Yeah.
one-on-one also.
Uh, I'm sharing my screen here.
Yep. Thanks, Dinesh.
Hope you can see my screen.
Not yet, actually.
Screen share is loading. It says, okay. Give me a moment. Yeah, I hope it is now. Can you see my screen? Hello.
Is it just for me?
No, even I can't see, Sanjay.
Yeah, I can see the screen is visible, but it's on screen 2 as screen 1 is shared by Dinesh.
Dinesh, if you can stop sharing, maybe it will show up. Because my can you try now?
Yes.
Yep, let's go ahead.
Yeah. I will continue if everyone can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So I have done the Terraform using Terraform. All the code and everything is with we use Visual Code Studio and Terraform, wherein I have created for each and every part of the area. I've created a module for it, and I've passed the variables and outputs. This is my main configuration file, main file. I've got AWS and a VPC and a NAT gateway security groups, ALB, EC2, and RDS, ASG. So these are the things which main modules which I have created. Under each of the module, I have created outputs also, output section, wherein what output is required for other module to work and what output is required for the files an output wherein we can pass the endpoint also. Wherein if you can see, I have given my output for RDS like this, wherein I will get in much more detail inside the each and every module. So this is my user script. What I mean, I've done install Docker and Docker Compose for SSM user, EC2 user. Restart the Docker command. And also I've run this command here for the Docker run. I've passed as a MySQL URL variable here. You can see this MySQL variable wherein the endpoint of, RDS endpoint will come in here and will run the command. So these are the variables.
That's where you need to, you have used the user data.sh, right? Now, the same way even I used, I also struggled the same, whatever you have struggled. Now, basically, the user data script will not work here. You need to use user data, but you need to use the template file. If you search on Google or in YouTube, in the template file, you can easily do that. In the template file, you can call the variables, and all those variables will be passed inside the script.
Yeah, but somehow, see, if you can see, I've just created successfully without anything, and even the command is also there in the Docker. If I inspect using Docker also, I've seen the command here.
Yeah, but the point is, how are you getting the value inside the script?
Yes, I will get to that. So I've created in my modules section, these are two folders actually, Infra folder and modules folder. So Infra folder is mainly the main folder wherein we have called each and every module and outputs for each and every module. So in these modules, I have ALB. So this is my auto load application load balancer. I have given every requirement of the security groups, load balancers, and everything here. And the variables which I've used and the outputs of the auto application load balancer are here as separate file outputs. And the variables which I will use for the next module, I have defined it here. Similar to auto scaling group also, wherein I have given my user data here for, user data template file, and that script and also MySQL URL. I've given RDS endpoint here. So it will take RDS endpoint here and attach to that MySQL URL in that user data script that it was doing. So these are the variables for the auto scaling groups. Similarly, I've done for every EC2, this is the security groups for EC2 and SSM configuration, SSM initialization, every configuration and VPC endpoints. So similarly, I have done like for RDS and other security groups and VPC. These are an internet gateway and NAT gateway for in the EC2 instances that ASG will create. These are the things which I've used. I have separated for each and every module like main, outputs, and variables, since we can do in a single file. But in order to create much more good structure, and I've thought of doing like this.
And you haven't opened
wherein
port 22 for the instance, and
no.
What security groups you have for the EC2?
Yes. So generally, I've used 80H43 for MySQL 3306. Apart from that, I have not used any of the security groups. I will go for ASG here. I will show where I've used yeah, launch templates here. If you see where at ALB security groups.id here, which ALB security is. You can see this output ALB security group ID. So this is the security group which I am using 80, 443 and 3306 for this ASG. I'm using, if you can see the output, this is the output.
Okay.
If I go to the I can connect to the EC2 instance using that SSM without port 22. Hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
So these are the security, these are the security group in which 80, 443 and 3306 for the PostgreSQL, sorry, MySQL I've used, but not port 22. So this is the code for, I've say, changed like this. I've used only one, for minimum size of one EC2 instance, which I've created. And also one thing which I have not done is I have not used RDS cluster here. I've used an RDS instance. For that, I have,
That's fine.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So that is the thing. And coming to the GitOps approach, what I want to show is I've also performed whenever I have built 3 branches here. See, one is main branch, one is a new branch which has securities, and we cannot pull that. Every update, what we will do, we will come into the feature branch. From it will be pushed to the other branches.
Yep.
So I've used this branch as a multi-branch pipeline, wherein each and every time when we pull a request, it will automatically pull request will be coming here, and the other branches, whenever we merge, whenever we commit, it automatically pulls that and does the GitOps using GitOps approach. So in my Jenkins file, so if you can see, I will just compare and pull request here. From feature branch to main branch, I will do that. Sorry, yeah. It's a new branch, I will do that. Create pull request. Oh, sorry. If I merge the request, it won't fetch that pull request. Actually, I should be here in order to GitHub in Jenkins pull that pull request here. It takes a little bit of time. The pull request will be coming here. Yeah. After it will take a little bit of time. So that was the code here. We will see if it features or not. I think I have merged it before that. Let me see. So what I'm doing here is this is my Jenkins file for that, wherein my choice of parameters are action. Apply. I'm using this build using the parameter structure. I can also do directly by giving command, But whenever we give a Terraform apply or Terraform destroy, where we can choose it in online, I mean, we can choose in the Jenkins UI whether to perform it or not. If you can see, build with parameters, I can see apply or destroy here, and then build it. Or this won't work by directly by GitHub. I mean, automatically it won't fetch. I mean, it will fetch, but it will fail since it has parameterized. This is what I'm trying for the other three. So in order to get in work, wherein I should be giving, see if you can see here, I have given the action here. From this action, it will fetch us from here the action choices, apply and destroy.
Okay. All right. So this is a sort of makeshift arrangement, I would say. More of because of your probably development experience, you have added this. There is how Dinesh has done. You can specify for different actions based on the branch.
Yes. So for specific branches and also for the new branch and the change request, these are the Terraform minute, Terraform format, Terraform valid, it will perform, not on the main branch. And for the main branch, it will go for AWS secret, init plan and approve.
Yeah, it will work. It's from functionality point of view, no issue. It will work as is, but how you probably look at is create it as per the branch.
Yeah, I can give directly the apply command, and where it will fetch the complete. That web using the webhooks, it will automatically get the build and it will complete the build as usual. I just want to try it out. Yesterday I tried it out, and it was like that.
No worries. Still a very good effort. Try to finish that RDS part, and let's see.
Yeah.
We can have the
See,
group is
if
anyway
you can,
open, so you can.
yeah, if you can see the pull, it will fetch the pull request here. So I have the pull request is here, and it initializes Terraform and will validate. So it uses the first, the job, the stage initialize Terraform and validate as per the Jenkins file. If you can see the change request you have mentioned, it performs all these three. Works. And coming to that RDS part of thing, what I want to show is, let me show. So, yeah. What I've did is I have given MySQL URL endpoint here as an user data. It is creating EC2 instance. Oh, shit. Okay. If I see here, okay. If you can see the environment, it is taking that. I've used, OpenJDK 17 and MySQL URL here, but somehow it is not, and it opened port 80 and port 8082, both of it.
No worries. We'll not debug this here. We'll discuss this offline. But I think we
Yes.
got a good idea that what sort of activities
Yes.
you have performed and some of the gaps that we identified. You can work on them, and we can debug this in the offline.
Yes. If I wanted to show you how it works, just give me -3. Sorry. Okay. it works. I mean, here what I've seen is the MySQL URL, it is not changing for me. Somehow I'm not sure. It is, I mean, the stack, how many times I've created Terraform using Terraform apply or Terraform destroy.
Mhm.
It is the same link which I'm getting actually. Somehow, yeah.
Shouldn't be the case. The one of the, like, after pet clinic, you have some prefix, so that usually is dynamic in nature.
Mm. And I have not given anything specifically actually, but not sure really
So some of this is
on how it.
generated because AWS is creating. You have the option to put an identifier from your side, say pet clinic, but pet clinic dot a random string dot your region and then AWS cluster. So that will be generated by Amazon, but there would be a bit of randomness. It shouldn't be unique every time. It shouldn't be repeating every time.
Yeah, I haven't not given anything specifically, but if you can see, okay, what I will do is I will just go here. Load balancers. Yeah. Here it is using the ALB, it is creating this one. Whenever I try to destroy an EC2 instance, and auto scaling group will automatically get my another EC2 instance replica of it.
Right.
So these are the last part I'm stuck at.
No worries. So there are few additional things. Try to configure this on a secure port, and also try to give if possible, try to have a domain registered or that you can manage, and extend it further, because there are a lot of learnings there in that step also. How you would configure a hosted zone. A lot of time this question in the interviews or for your knowledge of DNS service, you need to do that kind of activity. Right now it's
Yeah.
a ALB hosted. You will have a Route 53 hosted zone, and you will create the required records there, so that say www.karthik.com will actually redirect to this URL, something of that sort.
I've previously done that long back, but somehow, I mean, I couldn't get, time, and I've stuck here.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
just suggesting, just a feedback that you can try that, because there are a lot of learnings there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move quickly in the interest of time. I know we have other demos, so let's quickly move on. Karthik, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think our noob guy is also waiting. Sheen, how is
Hey!
how is it going? I thought you would probably be the first person to jump onto this, but I think you missed the bus. You started a little late.
Right, I was supposed to present first. I had to talk to my neighbor on some fencing issue, but yeah. Anyway, so most of the implementation that I already have regarding Terraform is very the same with Dinesh, because we have like we chat to each other on what to do on items that we have challenges on. The only thing that I could not get around with was that CI/CD thing where the build is happening, or the Terraform apply is happening on the PR, because I could not figure that out. And regarding the infrastructure Terraform, I was able to figure those out, how to pass information to the cloud init, using and the database using RDS. Pretty much all of the objective of the application is achieved, except the CI/CD thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I was waiting for. I'm gonna wait for this meeting to finish, and then I'm gonna take a look on what was discussed by Dinesh there and how I was able to get it done.
Let's quickly, whatever you want to present. I know Dinesh and Karthik has covered most of it, but
okay.
anything unique, maybe in next 5-7 minutes, let's do that so that we can get
Okay,
into
well,
the
right, let's try that. Probably only covered by Dinesh. So let me just share desktop one. And of course, I won't be able to change the DNS because Azure is having a problem right now. Can't seem to load because my DNS management is on Azure. I have a different project and I'm testing with on my work related. That's why the DNS management had to be here. For some reason, I just can't manage this right now, so we won't be able to see it load properly. Oh, looks like it's loading now. But anyway, let's go back to the Terraform here. Right, I'm gonna move your face here, sir, to the other screen. Okay, so very much with Dinesh, we also implemented that module thing because initially this was just a plain file where everything is pointed at, and then Dinesh was posting on a chat where he implemented modules, and I said, not on my watch, I'm going to implement that too. So ultimately, we try to compartmentalize the related items on each module, with the main file being the entry point for all of the applications that we have. So you'll notice here that only the parameters that has different values are changed, but it is using reusing the same code for the same items. Regarding that earlier presentation though about the database, I'm not really sure how you're passing that information on the EC instance without in advance, because the URL is dynamic, and you won't know that in advance. So ultimately, what needs to happen is once you create the DB on the actual file itself, you can actually create an output where you can get the endpoint name. In this way, you can get the input value, which is the endpoint name. If you look at this documentation, this particular name here will return the RDS endpoint name, and then the port that it's used. Most likely this will be 3306 because we're using MySQL. And the way that we provision that on the EC2 instance is right here on the very bottom, where when we actually load the launch template. So this is the part here for the user data that we're actually reading the template file using Cloud Init. So if we open this actually, this the actual file that's actually reading. This is the data that it's referring, that previous file, and this section here is referring to this file right here. These are the information that we passed. We took a really long time to figure this out, this part, but Dinesh was able to figure this out, and I was able to try that here on my end. Now, this file right here is the actual YAML file that is passed to the EC2 instance. When we initialize, this is the part where you can where the endpoint name is also passed. You won't know this in advance, and that's why you need to pass this as an information. And by the time that this file is read on the EC2 instance, that variable name on the EC2 instance is available, and it will be able to resolve that. And then this is the basic commands that it will run once this file is written to the EC2 instance. This is how we provision the database access from the pet clinic. And other than that, it's very much the same of what Dinesh has. Yeah, it's still not loading, so I won't be able to change the DNS for now.
So
So,
I think
yeah.
we've got an idea. So that's why I suggested Karthik also to try this option. This is an additional step where your domain can be hosted in Azure, AWS, GoDaddy, or any other place. So you can take a look how you can configure that. And it's a very common scenario. So you trying to understand a common problem so that it is a problem for most of the people, for example, security, cost management, and maybe their management of their domain. So try to understand that. It shows up in the interviews and day-to-day job very frequently. Any load balancer we create, we end up creating a Route 53 record, because that entire URL that AWS gives you, the entire URL for RDS that AWS gives you is not rememberable. It's not useful. You can't use that as is. You will eventually create a Route 53 record on top of it and use that record for your future connections.
Right. And I have a question though regarding the CI/CD pipeline. So supposedly the main branch is from Dinesh. I fork his repo, make some changes on it, and then I push it back to his repo. What are the implications on that, on the existing infrastructure? Is that just gonna update the existing items in there, or is Terraform is Terraform gonna apply the whole configuration back to the tenant?
So is
Because
it
what I'm looking here is the maintainability of the infrastructure once it is created.
Yep. So if this question is specifically about the Terraform state management point of view, then different branches, like as we discussed, the dev branch will not really have a state part to it. We are just testing whether the infrastructure is being created with the right syntax, and will it basically the plan part of it. We are just planning the infrastructure in our dev pipelines. Then in your main pipeline, you are actually going to apply that. So that is within your forked repository that's you are working, say standalone, then Dinesh, and Dinesh has the main branch. Then your fork will have its own state file, its own separate infrastructure created, and Dinesh will have its own from the main branch.
Oh, is that common, creating a different infrastructure just for the other branch?
Like for the specific branch, we are anyway not creating any infrastructure. It is because you are forking it from another repository. It's a new repository, basically. It's not a
Right.
It's a new repo. So now within the fork, you have a main as well as your sub branches.
Okay.
In general, actually, speaking, the forking and all this will not be used so much in your projects and that kind of thing, like in the organizations. Forking is popular in the public GitHub space, because there is a one maintainer, and it's usually for reference kind of thing. You would want to build something in your own GitHub repository,
Right.
and you have something to start with. At work,
Right.
we hardly fork any repository. We will always have a main branch, and we will create different feature branches and that sort of thing. It wouldn't be a copy of forking is a copy of your branch, copy of the entire
Right.
rather. So that's a very different scenario, and mostly popular in where we are sharing code and that, like for the public big repositories. But in at work, it's mostly going to be one single repository, and then we will branch it out from there. And then state management will be different at different branches, because you can't have same state for like all the branches. So different branch.
Okay.
Yep. So if for example in one organization you want to say do a dev deploy, like in this project, what we decided was we will not deploy from dev branch. We will do a plan, and we will do a code quality check, etc., and apply from the main branch only. But if, for example, your organization decides that there are dev environments, and we will deploy to dev environments from dev branches, and the production environment will be deployed from the main branch. If that sort of arrangement, your organization decide to do that, then there will be a separate state file for dev branch, and will deploy to one set of infrastructure, and then production should use a different state file and will deploy to production. And
Well, if that's the case, I think that state file is the only thing that I didn't implement, because if the normal development will be on a different branch but on the same repo, then I'm aligned to that current situation, because it will build this right here. It will build if I push it to the main, and it will build infrastructure and only do the planning for the other ones.
Yep.
If there's a MR and so, oh, I guess I implemented it correctly. It's just the this is also executing when I'm doing that on the other branches. So I probably need to put checks here to check if it's the main branch. So yeah, that's probably where
Yeah.
missing the point there, because I know it was wrong when I was building the infrastructure when I was pushing it from the other branches. So that's why I was really confused what GitOps are. I had to research that in.
Also, specifically about branches, I'm not so sure how Jenkins will handle this, but if you look at GitLab and Azure DevOps, in the YAML structure itself, like for a stage, you can specify that this stage is applicable for main branch, or this stage is applicable for which type of branches, like feature branches or release branches. So it's very straightforward process in GitLab.
Right. So Jenkins also have that, but I believe you had to have a multi-pipeline branch for those information to be available.
Correct.
Yeah, and then those environment variables will then hold information if what branch you're in, and then you can put logic on the steps. Yeah.
Okay. So that's sort of by default in GitLab and Azure DevOps, because the build server knows which branch it's coming from, and from there you can define patterns, like if it's /feature/ something, this stage has to execute. If this is main, then this stage is applicable. So you can very easily plan your pipeline with one single file.
So what's the deal with GitLab? Is the build server managed for us? Or is that we're gonna set it up like the way we do in Jenkins, where we need to put in the binaries for each build tools?
It depends. If you are managing the GitLab yourself, it comes in different flavors. You can decide to host it yourself. In that case, you will have to manage the build agents and all that. If you use the SaaS version, then they provide you shared resources which you can consume, and they charge you for that.
Well, I need to take a look at that at some point.
Yeah. All right.
Using Jenkins, we have got the similar kind of working. I mean, like GitLab, it might be a different structure. I mean, it is different from GitLab. What I've seen Sheen's code also, what I've thought is GitLab has a good working structure, I believe so, rather than from Jenkins. It is from a little straightforward, I believe so. I'm really not sure how it works in like in GitLab. But Jenkins also we can do that branching strategy, and we can for this specific branch we can do only these commands. This is what I've did here also.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I have an additional question regarding the maintenance of the app that we're deploying on the Terraform.
Yeah.
What happens if there's an update of the app, like becomes Pet Clinic 1.1? How do we redeploy that to the existing infrastructure?
If it is the idea is that we will make some changes to the source code, and that should reflect in the application. That's how we wanted to build this. So if your Docker image is changing, if your application is changing, then obviously it will lead to a new Docker image. So Docker image will, instead of using latest, you can specify your label 1.0.1. If it is changing to 1.0.2, your Terraform code will also change, where your user data script, if that is pulling a specific version, you will change that version over there, and you will once that change has been pushed to the main branch, you will basically destroy the instance that is running in production, and that should pick up the latest auto scaling group template, and based on that, it should recreate another instance.
Okay. Well, is it normal though to have multiple versions of the app? Like you're still doing a testing 1.0 and 1.1, and you configure your load balancer so that, I don't know, 20% of the users goes to the new 1.1 just to test it for some reason, some other reasons.
It's not
Is that
possible
something that's
in this
Ah.
setup, the one that we have done. Those are some of the drawbacks with this one. If you have to upgrade, it will, all the instances will have to be upgraded in the auto scaling group. So there are limited opportunities to do blue green or any like partially sending the traffic to some instances. So that sort of feature is not possible with this setup. That's where the Kubernetes and other platforms will come into play.
right. Oh, last one. There's a additional challenge for me, especially for me, because I'm a beginner with this Terraform. Particularly on the values for each property. Is there the registry documentation on the Terraform website itself? Some of them do not enumerate the possible values for each property.
Mhm.
Particularly the what was that database plan? You have to hunt it down on their documentation. What version you actually have that? Is there like a centralized documentation that you guys know that we can refer to that?
I always
Information?
rely on the Terraform documentation itself. It's usually up to date, and you need to select the right version of Terraform. That's the only thing.
Right.
But after that, all the properties are like they will have start with the basic minimum required properties, and then there will be at the same page there will be like, these are the possible properties and these are optional, and that kind of thing. It's always there on that same.
No. The properties, oh, that's fine with me. It's the values for the properties. For example, the cluster instance on Terraform for the RDS cluster. It's the values that we're looking for, and it's not properly defined on the documentation. So I was wondering if there's some tricks that you guys know that we can actually read.
I think after a while you will start getting based on the name and that it's an AMI ID
Right.
to go, and if it's the instance type, what are the possibilities there? So that sort of thing. I don't think any you can, to generate some code, there are extensions available in VS Code where you type that I need this resource, then a sort of template code will be available for that resource. That is possible.
Okay.
But again, it will have some optional and some mandatory properties to be filled in. But
And
yeah.
that term, is there a feature in Terraform where we can probably query an instance and it will return data properties or something like that? So for example, let's say there's a EC2 instance there that names Pit Clinic, and is there? Oh no, Terraform is just provisioning, is it? You can't really.
It is provisioning, but you can look at the state file if you want to. Maybe some information is there, but I don't see because these are there will be a lot of optional values that you may have or may not have given. So there's no such describe a resource kind of thing here.
Well, state file we can get some information. Means Terraform state show.
Yeah.
What's
Show
that?
command.
The
Terraform state and show command.
The challenge is that sometimes in the environment you may not have access to the state file, so it may be managed by your administrator, and also we can't rely on state file for giving information because that may be secured in the environment.
Right. And state file, that's just the brain of the Terraform, so that you guys don't collide your configuration with each other, right?
Yeah, that is the main reason people use or don't use Terraform. I have seen people using it for this reason, that it's maintaining the state file, and uh, in future you have to maintain your infrastructure. The same state file will be referred and updated. Uh, However, a lot of people don't use for same reason, that the state file becomes very complex when it becomes very so in your interview or anywhere it's asked or that sort of question, these actually sometimes it becomes a bottleneck, managing multiple state files from different branches, managing massive state files. One of the project where I worked was just to do a plan, and in it the process to read a very massive state file would take at least 10-15 minutes just to read the previous state file and then do a plan for the next. And you add very small resource, that process will take maybe a half an hour or so, because it is referencing the very massive state file.
All right, that's all for me.
All right, Sheen, this was good, very good effort, and we will move on to anybody else who has done this. Anything additional they want to highlight? Any additional security product, Sneak or anything they incorporated? Anyone check the Checkov for validating the infrastructure? No worries. Take a look at those additional options and see if you can build that kind of thing, these additional steps. And did you mention anything on the log group? Were you able to fetch logs from the instance? Sheen was
Dinesh did. No, not me.
okay. Dinesh has done that as well, is it?
No, I did
I
not do
believe.
it. I tried,
Okay.
but I tried to do the data persistence and all that, but I could not, do it.
That was a kind of stretch goal. Like you will need endpoints and a lot of other configuration for that to work. So give it a try. That would probably be the last step in this entire project that can be achieved.
Yes, but we have another big thing on the plate, isn't it? The
Okay.
Kubernetes project, right?
Right.
So I did not start the project at all yet. It's already been a week.
No
I have
worries.
to-
That's relatively the first week we are going slightly slow there, so that people who are like bit of theory and concepts and that kind of thing. Usually, I was not planning to do that, but assuming that July batch is also joining there, so we are going a little slow. So you have time with your skill set and knowledge. I think you will catch up in 2-3 days max.
Yeah,
I
let's
haven't
proceed.
started anything on that Kubernetes part, Sanjeev. I'm stuck with this RDS endpoint thing for the last three days on this, and
We will delay
the
that.
GitOps approach.
So all three of you in August batch as well.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. I was thinking to offer that since you guys have accomplished this, maybe I will give you entry to the August batch or that kind of thing. You all are there anyway. So this tells me that if you are doing this project, that's when you will get real value. That's when you will understand the value in this. If you are watching from outside, then maybe as a project manager or some such role, you are still getting benefited, but otherwise as a DevOps engineer or cloud engineer, it's not going to benefit unless you do it with your own hands.
Yes. Actually, I mean, I do not have any hands-on on the Docker, Terraform, anything on the GitOps approach, Jenkins, nothing. I was an infrastructure guy previously, but I've used a little bit of GitHub pull requests. Apart from that, I have not got any hands-on experience. But with this project, what I've got is that using the Terraform has given me much. Now, if I have any issues with Terraform, I can directly go see where the issue is. Where you have mentioned about that variable, whether it may be output. I've got good hands-on and knowledge on that. That was good for me.
Good. All right. So, Victor, I saw you quite active in the group, and any success on your side? You
I said I faced some climate problem, floods. Faced climate problem in that regard. Not in the city, in Hyderabad. So no, I'm following the group and watching the YouTube.
no worries, no worries. Let's finish off some of the last stuff. Let me share my screen.
Before that, Sanjeev, I have one thing. I've fixed my previous code also where you have mentioned the part 2. You asked me, I have included Sonar Cloud also, right? If you remember, I will show that. I've incorporated the project key and everything in the directly into the code. So I have removed that and directly I was able to do that without any secret code in that.
Okay. Yeah, right.
For the Sonar Cloud.
Yes. We discussed the last time, and
Yes. I fixed that one too.
what else? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
The presentation, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I was planning to, share with everyone. I know a lot of people. There are more than 100 people who have signed up for the project. Because of some reason, only 12 are visible. So a lot of people I'm expecting will be watching this. So you can share your video recording of your project. You can share your public repository, take help from within our project, the WhatsApp group, and try to finish this. Luckily, all 3 people are also signed up for August batch. We'll see if we can help you in any way. Maybe a future project, you can get some direct entry into that, so you don't have to spend money there. If anyone else watching this live or watching this on the recorded video, if you guys deliver us a similar project, we will ensure that you are getting that, because the money part, as I mentioned in my first video, it's not it's just to get serious people into the projects. And if you are delivering this project and that proves that you are serious enough, so you don't have to spend more. You can directly, get entry to the subsequent projects. So try to finish this the way Dinesh, Karthik, Sheen has created their, presented their solution. You try to do it yourself now, and try to share us a very nice video that we can share with other participants. And we also feel happy that, the objective of the project is we are achieving those outcomes. So share us this. My number is anyway available. You can share it on the WhatsApp group itself or individually. Try to share a bit of architecture diagram. Start with that, then explain what you have achieved, assuming that the person who is going to watch is a new and he doesn't know all the details that we have done in the project. So try to explain them that in 15-20 minutes of video and share it with us. We will try to give you entry to the subsequent projects, or if you are already enrolled, we will try to help you in any other way. What else we can do? Logs monitoring was definitely one of the area that we wanted to keep as stretch goal. Then what else? We know, right? We have right now installing this application in the containers, and by default, we understand that containers are very unstable in nature, so they are likely to crash, or because of any memory issue or any such issue on the infrastructure side, they are supposed to, not supposed to, but they are likely to kill themselves or die because of that, become stop responding, that sort of scenario. So that's where the Kubernetes comes into picture. And in the August batch, we take the same app, try to set up the cluster in following certain best practices, and try to deploy the same application onto a Kubernetes cluster. Not using RDS this time, we will be using microservices within the cluster. So people who are joined there will anyway know about it, but those who want to extend the same project, they can do it themselves. They can enroll in the next batch if they want to. So we are extending the same application because there are certain issues. The rolling update of applications, if like Sheen asked that, if there's a new version, how do you roll it out in such an environment? It is still possible, but takes a lot of effort to set up the autoscaling group in such a way that part of the autoscaling group gets updated, and see that, like, it's slightly difficult doing that, whereas Kubernetes handle this out of the box with few lines of code. So we try to do that. So you can do that also. I'm just giving you like what we are doing in that batch so that you can extend this application when you get time. And then we also do a bit of monitoring, alerting for that Kubernetes cluster. So that's about it. What else do we talk about now?
One thing I want to ask you, Sanjeev, is as previously I've thought, like I've told you in the August batch video also, like I want to use a Minikube. I thought of using Minikube, but I mean, since EKS will be much more useful even for the resume also, what you suggest, Minikube or EKS? What do
EKS,
you?
anytime EKS.
Okay.
If money is not so much of a constraint, you are working professional, go for EKS. If you are student, don't have that much funds, then you can do with Minikube. But
Okay.
On that note, I would
And
like to add, Sanjeev, I got 3,500 bill for the 2 days.
really?
I will, yeah. Because
Dollars?
no, not dollars, rupees.
Oh.
I got about $50 to $60. I had to pay for this project
I don't.
because I was
Wow,
using RDS, NAT gateways, but when the plan, as you said, the plan was taking a lot of time. One small change also, it was refreshing, doing plan.
Mhm.
But I really did not want to destroy, apply. That's the reason I had to keep it for a couple of hours. And for all these iterations, it cost me.
I
And
only have
I'm a student. I'm
$2.
not a working professional yet. So
yeah, on that note, I want to bring you something is when I initially worked with the Terraform, even I have got multiple issues with Terraform plan command, Terraform apply also. I mean, it was not successful. I was an impression like Terraform has not completed successfully. Okay, I mean, I was working on the code. Later, I have realized the IPs which we have given 172 dot, it has created in situ instances, load balancers, auto scaling groups in all over the world for me. I mean, I didn't knew. I mean, even Terraform, it was not completely successful. Even though it has created a thing, and I have not got information much knowledge on that. And I've seen that each and every knowledge for that IP, it has taken. I mean, I've given EU West 2 as my default location, but even though that IPC were not available, I believe so, it has created multiple locations, and my instances were there all over the world. US, Europe, in Southeast, everything they have to.
so it's high available now.
It is.
Please Scalable. And Dinesh, you can raise a request for waiving of money, asking them to waive off the money and telling that you are preparing for the certification purpose you have raised. You are preparing for AWS certification in that regard.
I did not quite catch that what you said. Is it something?
Yeah,
which
just
I've done?
Raise one supports request to the AWS support, telling them
Mhm.
that you are preparing for AWS certification. You are practicing for AWS preparation in that regard. I got this money, so please waive off the money.
Oh, okay. You want me to create a case for that? Yeah, I did that. I'm waiting for that. Yeah, I did. Yeah. You want me to create a case for the AWS, right? Yeah, I did.
Okay, very good.
Previously, also I've given. I've got around 8,000 of mail in my previous email when I was trying out for EC2 instances. I have not realized that. After I got bill, I raised a complaint with AWS team, and they were happy without any asking much of anything. They said like, okay, we will waive off for you.
Awesome. They are very nice. If you guys want, you can even request for $300 or that sort of thing. I actually received once $10,000 from them for a startup initiative. I didn't had a startup as well. I just applied that that I am planning. This is my idea. I'm planning to roll this out. So there is a startup fund that, and they shared me 10,000. So that's how I became like started using all the services possible and used everything in that 1.5 year time frame. So they are very good at sharing credits, waiving off credits, anything that you request. Very customer focused, very obsessed with the customer.
Yes, they do. But they're very kind-hearted in that sense,
Okay. Again, for the participants who some of them were actually attending this mainly for sort of certification at the end of it. So what we are coming up with is I will be sharing one link within our group where you can provide me your full name. I have your name and email address from TalkMate, but if that is not official name, you can provide your full name, your phone number, and your email address, and I will send out your certificate for this project completion onto your email address. A fancy looking certificate that you can use for any experience kind of thing, or maybe post it on LinkedIn.
Nice.
Okay. What else? I'm not so used to finishing off on this note, so I don't know what to say. What we wanted, we have sort of achieved that. If people are struggling, there are next steps for them. The group is anyway available for them to discuss and talk to us. We are not closing that. What else can we do in the next few minutes so that it's beneficial for everyone?
Sanjay, I don't know I know the doubt sessions is almost done, but I have very small doubt.
Mhm.
When we were doing the pipeline, we were waiting for the manual approvals, right? So when we are doing the merge, and if you want to provision the infrastructure on the production, you
Mhm.
wait for the manual approvals.
Right.
Only then you take certain action and do it. What kind of things you wait for? You wait for a Jira ticket, or what kind of approvals? In which form you get the approvals is what I want to ask.
Usually your Jira and GitLab, Jenkins, or any such tools will be integrated. So if a merge request is requested from me to review, I will get an email or notification from that system that so and so merge request has requested a review. That kind of integration is always there. And then when I look at the merge request, I will look at what this merge request or what this the request that has been made, what was the outcome of this in the branch itself when it was executed. So there would be a CI/CD process in every branch. It could be plan, it could be code quality checks, it could be Sneak, Sonar integration. So I'll look at all those things, and if they look fine and based on my understanding, the changes requested look in line, I will go and approve it, and then that would trigger a merge. And if usually GitLab and Jenkins, they would tell you that this branch that you are trying to merge, is it in a state that it can be merged into? Because sometimes what happens is before you approve that merge request, there was another developer who created another merge request to another reviewer, and he approved it first. So in that state, your changes cannot be merged into a master. Now it is outdated. So that will force you to do a git pull again and create another merge request. So that sort of scenario, that sort of process is being followed. The tool will happen part of it. The tool will ensure that you are not merging randomly and you are following a process there.
Okay.
So some part will happen in your branch. The reviewer will review that outcome in those branches, approve it based on that, and then the final another CI/CD process will happen in your master branch, your main branch, which will then probably deploy this or take it to next stage basically. Then there could
Yes.
be release branches in different environments. It all depends on at the organization branching and merging strategy. Different people will use different style of deployment. So sometimes they don't even deploy from the main as well. They will wait for a slash, like you had slash feature feature code for which you are developing a new feature, right? Feature branches. There would be release branches. So you will from master, you will push to these release branches, and then release will then do the actual production deployment.
Got it. But just for my understanding, sometimes what happens, even the Terraform plan is shows successful,
Yeah,
when we apply the resources, you get the error. My question is, when we merge the request, let's say you are the person who needs to accept the request. Just by looking at the code, will you be able to get it?
No, it will not be. It will not be. So that's why I suggest in this case, it would have complicated the things. If we do apply in the branch itself, you would have to have a separate environment, separate state file management for your
Correct.
branch. And that's why I specifically requested not to do a merge, not to do apply in the branch itself. That would complicate the things drastically.
So whoever is working on the dev environment, ultimately they will provision in the
Yes.
for the dev environment infrastructure. Once it is successful, only then they will do it for the production environment.
Then they will do it, and then the reviewer will look at the outcome in the dev account also.
Oh, correct. Yeah, got it.
And that way you will know that the apply is successful or not.
Correct. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
There is one thing I want to mention, Sanjeev, is there is multiple in Jenkins. We have many branch pipelines, whether it may be free, a multi-branch pipeline, normal pipeline, and free project, and many projects are there inside it. Which one need to choose is a big question in generally for starters who are starting up, and not generally multi-branch or pipeline or pipeline. It looks for Jenkins file.
Mhm.
So generally, I mean, for the free project, I mean, what kind of project do you suggest generally? I mean, I've tried every pipeline, every project like that, whether it works for the GitOps approach, but I've somehow sorted out for the multi-branch pipeline.
Yeah.
So what kind of job will you suggest generally?
Multi-branch all the time. Yes. Most of the organizations, they use Git flow where they are creating feature branch kind of thing. Everybody's working on maybe one or two feature branches in parallel. I would have, if 2 tickets are assigned to me or 2 infrastructure components have to be developed, I will probably create 2 feature branches for myself. And then multiple people within the team would have different branches. So Jenkins has to keep polling for these different branches, keep generating the output. As we discussed in this project, we decided we'll do plan, but in the actual environment, you might be applying it to your dev environments. So that sort of thing keeps repeating.
Okay.
So you basically build every branch.
Okay.
I think in real time, Terraform state will be in S3 only.
Yes.
Mostly.
S3, yes. You can use the same bucket if you want to, but you will have to eventually use different prefix. So you can, for state management, you can use the same S3 bucket or Azure blob or whatever the cloud provider you are using, but you will still separate them. It will not be one single file for the entire like dev environment, prod environment, etc. There will be separation there.
So in disaster problem, will there be any cross region?
Sorry, will there be any?
Cross region replication? Means disaster recovery.
Oh, yes, yes.
Will there enable a cross-region replication?
Definitely, those are the good practices that all it should have the version control enabled on the bucket. It should be replicating in some another region, because this state is very critical in nature. If this gets corrupted, you will be in big mess. Especially like this was a small environment, you can decommission and do it. But if it's a massive environment, it's not possible to delete everything and start from scratch. And second, you will always have encryption enabled on that bucket, so that anybody getting a good hand to that bucket will not be able to have secret information out of that, because state file is not secure. It's like a lot of secrets are there. That's one of the another disadvantage of using Terraform, that all your secret information goes into the state file.
And another thing I want to ask you, Sanjeev, is which kind of, tool, CI/CD tool, which generally people will use at the moment of time? Because I've seen Jenkins for a very long period of time, and I've seen, right now GitHub Actions also is taking its good users and of who are using that. And which tool will give the good ease of access and for the user? And
Again, not, you can just give some numbers or some idea about it, but most of the organizations I'm seeing sort of small trend there. People, again, Jenkins is not a very differentiating skill. It's like most of the DevOps engineers will say that they know Jenkins. So if you want to differentiate from them, try to look at GitLab. A lot of startups and small organizations, they tend to use GitLab more. And they also tend to use Ubuntu as their platform rather than Red Hat or something. The organizations that are on large enterprise like banks, etc., they insurance companies, telecom providers, they'll try, it's not a very specific answer, but they tend to use Red Hat images. That is, you will see 99% of the time Red Hat, because of the extensive enterprise support they offer. And I have seen a bit of trend that whether they are using AWS or GCP or Azure, they tend to use Azure DevOps slightly more, even to deploy on your AWS environment. So you can look at GitLab, you can look at Azure DevOps, you can look at you can look at GitHub Actions.
Okay.
If you really want to, extend, look at Circle CI maybe for 5-10% of the, maybe less than 5% of the cases. Jenkins is anyway, it's used, but the only problem with that is a lot of security issues. And then the support is usually very expensive, the cloud-based support, and organizations do use it, but it's not very differentiating in nature. Everybody would be having Jenkins on their resume. But if you have GitLab, and by any chance your employer is using GitLab, then it's a good match. And if last in that series would be AWS DevOps services. They are like, very rarely I see people using them.
Okay, in order to get Azure DevOps, we need to be in an Azure environment only, right?
No, it's not necessary. I have seen customers using Azure DevOps to deploy on AWS. That's the main thing. Like I was telling you, that's the trend. I have seen people doing that as well. It's not necessary.
Not sure really
Azure
about
DevOps.
that well.
Yeah, it sounds very weird that AWS DevOps services are not very nicely done. They are very specifically built for AWS platform. Like not very extensible that you can use for other platforms or. But Azure DevOps on the other hand is probably more inspired from Jenkins and more inspired for an overall CI/CD product. It doesn't differentiate that much. Obviously, there will be native integration with Azure services, but you can easily integrate with. I have seen people using it to deploy on Kubernetes clusters in EKS, etc., and also Beanstalk and all other services in AWS. Because it also allows you to add plugins, etc.
Sanjay, if AWS people see this video, they will take back your $10,000.
Somehow their AWS DevOps services are not very popular. Actually, that's their problem. That's where people look at GitLab. If they are on AWS, want to use CI/CD product, they will look at GitLab, Azure DevOps as the product.
Nice save. Nice save.
Yeah, and you
So
will realize
generally
this,
people,
if you try to use that product, you will realize that it's very natively, very tightly working with AWS services only.
so only Kubernetes service only is a famous one, and I mean people are using extensively. Is that right?
For
Only EKS? I mean generally for GitOps approach or other using when you say people
Yeah,
who are
yeah.
using AWS, they are into GitLab for the source code, not
For
in the
the
Azure.
DevOps services.
Only the Kubernetes side only. I mean, EKS is good rather than from Azure side of things.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah. From the market capture point of view, AWS is definitely leading, but Azure is catching up. When it comes to, I think AWS launched their EKS product much before than Azure launched the AKS. So they are leading in that side.
Okay.
AWS is usually ahead in the curve. They will launch some product, then GCP and Azure, and they try to, follow that trend and launch that in maybe 6 months, 1 year time frame.
Okay, Sanjay, you got that GitLab T-shirt. You bought it yourself, or
No.
they
This is
sponsored?
all from the events and the maybe AWS summits, or there was a beer ops event happened here in Sydney, where I met that another YouTuber is there, Tech with Lucy. So she was an AWS.
Lucy.
Lucy, you know her?
Oh no, just on her channel.
Yeah. So she's a YouTuber from Sydney, and she was an intern and then solution architect associate with AWS for a couple of years. And then she started publishing some videos and she got like massive success. And now she's full-time into this. So
Good for her. Good for her.
yeah, just met her at that event, and I posted on our YouTube channel as well. So yeah, from these sort of events, keep going and then bring it before such sessions that we are doing.
I hope one day we all become like you.
No, don't be like me. Be better. So
The learning part from all the, whether you are experienced, whether you are a fresher, in this, especially in this IT side, we had to learn continuously, where we cannot be safe. There's no safety at all.
no safety. Even myself, I was discussing with Saurabh today that a lot of DevOps Cloud, maybe we should also bring AI ML, because we have to learn as well. Like personally, we know a little bit of it, but not as a working experience and extensive experience like we have on the in the DevOps and cloud space. So we were discussing on that line. Always you have to be learning new things. Always keep trying stuff. And I have seen this sort of trend that eventually any experienced DevOps and cloud engineer at their work eventually getting into some sort of data analytics, some sort of data projects. That trend I have seen. Every senior developer back in 2013, 2014, when everybody started doing DevOps, most of the senior developers in the company, in the organization, they switched to DevOps, then eventually cloud, and then eventually it's data. Like at my work, 2 or 3 companies that like I worked for this organization, then I switched few years ago, even for that organization. Most of the organizations are storing their data in the cloud. So first it comes to DevOps and cloud engineers to manage that data, protect that data, then eventually create some sort of pipelines on top of it. So whether it's Databricks or Snowflake and that sort of technologies, eventually you because you have access, and sometimes you have your time, you are made available some extra time, so you end up working on data related projects in one way or the other.
And also one, Sanjeev, right at the moment, we were learning DevOps, all these tools and everything we are learning. When you say AML is coming, where you also need to learn much more into AML, what you what you will suggest, like whether we pursue in this DevOps side of area, or anyway AML is a new thing coming up, and where we need to focus on that.
I think for now, if you have already started working, because the reason is that it's usually a progressive, improvement, that if you directly move to data, you wouldn't know how that data is being created, how this application development is working, where the applications are being deployed. So if you understand DevOps and cloud, you know all that, your data security. So all those constructs are helpful. And then you can easily, like not easily, but that becomes a sort of another step that you are getting into data related projects.
Okay. For these AML things, data related projects, we need a extensive Python learning. Am I right?
Probably,
Sanjeev?
yes. Most likely, yes.
Okay.
So in that also,
Okay, and
I have
also,
noticed not the entire Python related stuff, but being able to import the right packages, because the advantage of Python is not the Python language itself, right? That is that you can compare it to any other language. It's the predefined packages that are available to you, whether it's NumPy or
Jupyter.
something, and those sort of packages make it extensive, rich in features. So you should be able to import these packages, set some properties, and start giving the right input to those packages so that they can produce the desired output for you. So that is the main skill set. So that's where all your development experience, all your data experience, all that you have built in your college or your basic studies, that will be helpful. And then you will know that data has to be picked from an S3 bucket, so your cloud knowledge will be applicable. So it's a combination of cloud as well as your data processing skills.
when I was a student, I used to hate the programming. Even today, I hate programming. For that specific reason, I was into system administration things,
But
where I have
system
certified with
admin eventually
RHC
will
and
have,
everything.
yeah, I can understand the pain, but everything is moving to infrastructure as code, pipeline as code, everything is code. But the good thing is it's not, it's a lot of repeatable thing. Like we have to create a new pipeline, we usually take a copy of a previously created pipeline and enhance it slightly, that kind of thing. It's never,
Eventually all come together.
yeah, everything comes together, and you can always nowadays take help of AI and generate a lot of content.
Yes. And also, Sanjeev, are you planning on any Python project as well?
No.
Okay. I
Next
mean,
month,
seriously, I've built a little bit of Python code previously, and I've started learning it, but I couldn't progress much into it. And seeing this project, wherein my learning skills has improved dramatically, at least in the tools which we have used for this project. Wherein if such project has come up, wherein I thought I will thinking like my Python skills also will be improving, for the specific reason I've asked you.
no, I have no plan. My skills are also not, like, I don't see Python as again a very differentiating skill. I would say it's just another language, at least in the DevOps and cloud space. When it comes to data science, yes, it has because of the packages, but for me, it's not even go-to language for me. Like for everything, I'll use Python. That's not the case. If I participate in hackathons, or there are some hackathon videos 3-4 years ago that we did on YouTube. They were all in .NET, because I was .NET developer back for 10-12 years before I moved into DevOps and cloud. So and that's how my mind works. Like I can look at Visual Studio and start creating, whether it's container images or any sort of application that I need to build. So Python is not my strongest area, and also we don't use it that extensively in any of the DevOps space. Yes, for some cases we have to write Lambda function, serverless. Yes, but where would you use it in Ansible? Where would you use it in Terraform? How would you use Python in Kubernetes cluster? Those manifest files. It's not Python has no usage in these technologies, right? So it's just
Yeah,
another.
there is no use. Yeah, it is just another programming language. I also accept like there is no use of that programming language, at least in these tools, wherein coming to the, I mean, for applying any jobs, generally people, for any DevOps engineer, but I've seen multiple of
That's
job
why I suggest,
opportunities.
I created a video also that you don't have to learn it and spend a course level duration like 60 hours or 90 hours on Python. I would again suggest build 2 or 3 Lambda functions, 2 or 3 slightly complex functions, which gives you experience in how serverless works, or how different AWS services can be integrated. And also because you will be writing in Python, that sort of knowledge is more than enough for you to say that you can pick up Python if required.
When I went for, when I've asked, people from the other job opportunities, they have asked me like, how good are you in Python? They want many of the DevOps roles which I've seen, and many of the which I've applied also.
It
They
will
are
be
asking for Python programming experience,
yes.
wherein I can say like I have did little bit of this when I'm an intermediate sort of, but they are not interested actually.
Yeah. Just build 3 Lambda functions, 3 serverless functions, slightly complex. You will be reasonably expert in Python, and that should be more than enough for you to justify. I don't think spending 90 hours, or because 90 hours for a working professional at 1 or 2 hours per day, you are talking about 2 months of effort. So it's not, you can probably do it in 10-15 days. That much of effort is what is right for Python. Mostly they are using some scripting, or some tools they have written, internal tooling, etc. is written in Python, because what you will do in those programs is, the projects that you will build is, you will be calling certain REST APIs. That sort of projects tools are usually written in Python. So you can take data from one system, provide it to the other system, or that kind of scenario you can create for yourself and build something there. That is usually, some tooling is there in the Python program. So if that has to be extended by DevOps engineer, then they can do that.
Yeah, it is really confusing for me. To concentrate at the, Terraform coding or the Jenkins file programming.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, if it is anyway not your strong area, then instead of learning everything and then if you have time, yes, you can give 3 months to just for Python. You can do that. But what is the guarantee that the job description will not have any other language or anything else on there? So I would suggest, if that is not your strong area, you can actually skip that part and build some 2 or 3 serverless functions which are slightly complex, which is like calling REST APIs outside, getting some input. That could be one of the scenario, and the other could be reading some data from an S3 bucket, processing it slightly, and then putting it on to another S3 bucket or DynamoDB, that kind of thing. These 2 or 3 scenarios, if you do it in Python. The third could be terminate the 2 or 3 EC2 instances at say 5 p.m. every day. To build these 2 or 3 use cases, you would have good knowledge in Python, and that should be good enough for you to justify in your, and you also have 2 or 3 projects in your hand that you can explain it to them. That should be more than enough.
That helps, Sanjeev. Thank you.
I think let's close this today. And if needed, we can do another one, another session. Anything else you are struggling with or anything else you have built on top of it, we can call for another session in the WhatsApp group. But for now, officially, this is sort of the last session. And for certificate, I will post the link. You can request certificate there. Anyone who provides the detail, we will issue a project completion certificate to them. Anyone who is submitting a fresh video, we will try to help those people because they are serious in their work and they want to build something. We will try to help them in through the August batch access or anything of that sort. People who have already done it, we will try to help you in the possible ways. All right, I think let's say a short goodbye, and maybe we'll catch up again. And for most of the people anyway, we are meeting in the August batch.
Yeah. See you, Sanjay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Sanjeev. Thank you.